it over to you for a couple minutes while I tell him the
Okay.
problem. But,
Okay.
Okay, I wanted to do two things, just three things I wrote down. And then the fourth is going to be, we're going to talk the listing contract today, right? Because I want you guys to really, really, really be able to understand it and defend it, right? Because there's no need to change anything. It's a standard listing agreement for the Florida Association of Realtors. All right, so one thing I wrote down was escalation clause. This week, sitting around the pool, getting overserved, we were talking a lot about real estate, go figure. And one of the things we talked about was all these damn multiple offers. And these agents that were here, which are, $150,000 a year up earners, said the escalation clause is my best tool. Who was it? It was Jackie Stone. She got three. Was it Jackie Stone? They got three. It was Lauren Fleischman. Lauren got three offers over the weekend approved. Every one of them had the escalation clause, and one of them won by just a $100 escalation, put them over the top. So I want to show you the escalation clause. Deb, how many of your agents are using that?
How many of our agents? Probably 25%, maybe.
We've got to become more familiar with it. Because
we should all
awareness,
be using them. Yeah.
I want to finish my statement. Awareness gives you flexibility, and flexibility gives you
Options.
options give you power.
Choices. Power.
So I'm going to go into templates. I'm going to go to all documents. I'm going to type in escalation addendum to contract. So this is something that you need to become aware of because our inventory problem is not going away. So Deb, why don't you tell us how to use this?
Okay, when you're making an offer, understand you're going to have multiple offers. It's not if, and if it's a house that's new on the market, it's going to be probably immediate. And if your client really loves the house and they want to get it, you should be using this. And this says in the event the seller receives no more than one additional bona fide offer, the property with the terms acceptable to the seller, other offers, but which result in net proceeds of the sale payable to the seller equal or greater than the net proceeds of the sale payable to the seller under this offer, then the sale price stated in this offer shall automatically increase to the amount which generates such profit to the seller equal of, and 500, 1,000, I throw 1,000 in here, in excess of the highest net proceeds of the sales generated in such other offers. This means, guys, this is the seller netting more. So you've got to look at the full conditions and terms of the offers coming in, and maybe not just the price. When are they, when are they going to be closing? How quickly? What type of financing and stuff? Cap, the sale price under this offer shall not exceed.
Deb, hold on.
Okay.
If the price is $250 with 3% of closing cost, then you coming in at $251 is more, and your offer is $250, which is better to the seller?
$251.
$250 is better than $250 minus 3%.
Yeah.
So that clause specifically talks about the net proceeds. So $250 with 3% is really $242.5. So in order to beat that offer, you could come in at $243.5, and you would beat the $250 offer.
Yeah.
Can you say that again? $243.5 beats $250 minus 3%. So that's why it's talking about net proceeds of the sale. So I think in practice, what we need to think about, you're building relationships with these buyers throughout the process. So start talking about this document so they're prepared about it. I mean, I'm telling you, our top agents are saying, I use this thing and it works for me. I get my offers accepted. So if you're getting beat out too much, this is one we really want to come comfortable with.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to beat your best offer by if blank $500, but $1,000, whatever you want. But I'd say probably 1,000 is probably more meaningful to make the seller,
I think so too.
want
Yeah.
more. But under no circumstance are we going to exceed X amount of dollars. So it's $250. We're not going to go over $255, but we'll beat your best offer by $1,000 up to $255. Or it might take more. I mean, some of the agents we were talking to this week were $25,000 over asking price. That's crazy. And then how do you have a conversation with the buyer to justify them considering going $25,000 over asking price? What protection do they have? They have an appraisal.
Appraisal.
The bank is not going to let them buy the house for 275 if it only appraises for 260. So they'll get out of the contract, they won't get loan approval, and they'll get their money back, right? But they are going to invest money in a home inspection, and they're going to invest money in an appraisal, right? So it's not they don't get off scot-free. But these are the meaningful conversations you need to have with them so they know what they're getting into. This is serious business. We're buying a house. And then go ahead, Deb, documentation.
Documentation. In the event other offers cause the escalation of the sale price in this offer, the seller will provide the buyer with sufficient documentation to justify the sale price increase. It means we need a copy. We need to send the copy to the seller of the other offers.
Yeah, you
So
can
they
black
can
out the
see.
names, whatever, but
Yeah.
we're not going to trust you. Yeah, I got a $300,000 offer. Yeah, show me.
Yeah, show me. Yeah. The buyer acknowledges that the escalation factor of this offer and escalation factors of other offers may result in multiple escalations and in some cases, escalation of the cap, because this may not be the only offer coming in with an escalation.
Mhm.
This is when our real skills come into play here and actually informing the seller of along the way of what they need to be looking at on these offers.
And then acceptance of counteroffer. So when does this buyer's offer kick in? In the event the seller agrees to accept a sales price within the terms of this offer and pursuant to the escalation clause, the seller will submit to buyer a copy of this offer with the sales price adjusted according to the escalation provisions contained herein. That means the seller is going to counter back to the buyer. In our example here, it's going to be 243.5. And they'll provide evidence that they had a 250 offer with 3% closing cost. That resulted in a net of 244.5. So yeah, 242.5. So that would document that our 243.5 would be the counter the seller would send back to our buyer.
Yeah. Do you think we should be using any cash back to the buyers at closing? Do you think we should be, asking for that if we're on the buyer side? I don't think so right now. We're not seeing a lot of that because that automatically really knocks us out of the running up front a lot of times. Because we're not seeing the offer, for the sellers to do cash back at closing for the buyers anymore.
No. Well, this is a story Jeff tells. I like the story. You have the conversation with the buyer and tell them what the perfect offer is. And the one way he can guarantee they get the house is to write the perfect offer, which is above asking price, all cash in the bank, no contingencies, all that stuff. And anything they do to weaken that position is going to weaken their ability to get the contract accepted. So asking for closing costs, asking for other things, it's going to mess you up. I had an agent tell me yesterday, if I am sending an escalation clause, then we should be willing to waive the appraisal contingency. What are your thoughts on this? Since escalating far above the asking price, you are likely going to go over appraisal value. Also, at what point are you escalating too high to where the seller decides that their price is too low? Adam, those are perfectly valid questions. I don't necessarily have an answer for you because there is no answer. But it depends on the qualifications of your buyer. I mean, if the house doesn't appraise, I love this story. We sold a house in Summerfield for $275. This is a long time ago when Summerfield houses were not worth $275. But this house had been totally redone. It had California closets. It had a whole house generator. It had, a brand new, $7,500 vinyl fence around the entire yard, right? And houses like that house were selling for $225. And we had a buyer who really liked that house. And the seller would not budge off his 275 number. But the buyer said, shit, it doesn't matter. I was going to pay 225 for this one. I'm going to put 30 grand in the generator. I'm going to put 7,500 in a fence. I'm going to do all that stuff anyway. This is already done for me. I'll buy it. If it doesn't appraise, let us put more cash down. Because if he bought the 225 house, he was going to have to pay cash to add all those things anyway, right? So the buyer was in a position, if it only appraised for 250, then the bank would lend him 80% of 250, and he'd have to put the rest of the cash down, which would be 20% of 25, right? So it really depends on the power of the buyer, but it also depends on our ability to communicate with them and tell them what the risks are. Because and that was a good agent who told you that, hey, if you're going to come to the escalation clause, you better waive your appraisal contingency. Because I'm not going to kick you out. That's just a way for you to take my house off the market and then beat me up later.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
The other contingency we see with this on occasion, which you have to really look at your contract, read your contracts and your offers, because a lot of times we have the sale for the buyer's house as a part of the contingency. And that does not play into this escalation clause very well at all, because it's not really cash. They've got to wait till closing to get the cash, and it doesn't give any credence to this escalation clause. If you got the buyer, you really can't do that and expect to win a battle over your offers and stuff.
The
That's got to
concept,
be, put aside too. And the buyer's got to take the risk of their house not selling if they've got a contract on their house.
the concept that comes to mind is put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So if you're going to try to play games like that, take away your financing contingency, take away your appraisal contingency, and that shows me you're serious. If you're that certain your house is going to close,
Yeah.
but most buyers are not in that position, and nor should they be. It's too risky. Okay, so this is a tool in your arsenal, and a lot of agents do not know what it is. It was created by Joe. Attorneys have reviewed it. So you're going to have to explain this to the listing agent. You're going to have to explain it to the buyer. So you really should know this form. So .loop, templates, all documents, just type in escalation, and that's one of your powerful.
I bring this to the listing presentation too, to let the seller know this could be what's going to be going on, and we need to be aware of it if we
Good
get
idea.
multiple offers.
Very good idea. Okay, the second thing I wanted to show.
Yeah, you're right, John.
The kickout clause is very good. I didn't have a list of it. We might just get to it. I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to go look up a contract, because I called it the as-is inspection slap.
I love this clause.
Come on, bar, move out of the way. Oh, all right. Just do it. Create a loop. Oh, scrub. Let's go to one of my loops. You guys should try navigating these things when this little
Yeah.
bar sticks over the place.
We should be using this clause on every counter offer we do with our sellers. Especially when we get the as-is contracts and offers in.
It's not going to let me do what I want to do. I got to start a new one. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Da, 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 da. Click in the box. No, done. Come on, let's get in there.
There we go. View loop, view loop. There you go.
We'll do that right now.
Dick and Sandy both use this clause a lot.
All right, so when you get to this edit field, there's a thing here called clauses. Why are you seeing it?
There you go, down the edit text.
Yeah, but there's show you a clause button here. Field history, add a clause. There you go. And then here it is. Buyer acknowledges. Add it. Buyer acknowledges that the buyer's home inspection and inspection period is for buyer's informational purposes only. Any requests for repairs, compensation, or price adjustments shall be considered a reopening of negotiations, and the seller reserves the right to cancel this contract. I want to tell you the message behind that. Jim Holloway believes that if you came back and counter an as-is contract asking for repairs, Jim believes it's automatically a breach of contract if the seller wants it to be. I interviewed another attorney and we had the same discussion, and she does not believe that's the case. There's no case law in Florida that says what this responsibility creates. So when we put this clause in, we activate it and there's no more question because we wrote it in. So basically it says, if you're giving me an as-is contract and you're going to retrade later, I have the right to cancel you, right? And I'm not saying be a ball buster, but it pisses me off when you come up with an as-is contract and then you ask for repairs. You lied to me. You said, here, I'm going to give you $350 as is. And then you do your inspection and come back and say, well, I changed my mind. I'll pay you $350, but I want you to fix these things, which are going to cost $4,000. So what you're really saying is you're going to offer me $346. So your offer was $350 with no repairs, and now you're changing it. And just to be a jerk, I would put this clause in there and have the power to exercise. It doesn't mean you have to exercise it. It says, and the seller reserves the right to cancel.
So yeah, so let's say we've had escalation clause, we've had 2 or 3 bidders on the property, and these buyers won the bids and are under contract. So we've got probably backup offers now. And for the seller, and the seller's agent, if there is issues here and we know we've got cash offers that may come in more, go back to them and see if they will and kick these buyers out. If you've got this clause, that's what I would probably think about doing, if we have other better offers out there that came in.
Yeah. So this gives you the power to be strong. Now, if the buyer comes back and asks for something really simple, I don't lose a deal over it, right? But if they're trying to just, get you, like Deb said, to win the bid, they come in as is, and then you take theirs over everybody else, and they come in and try to lowball you with repairs.
Yeah.
So this is another tool. So these are conversations we're having with the top agent saying, hey, that escalation clause is awesome. It really helps me a lot. Hey, I really like using the, I call it the as-is slap clause. John says
Jimmy
you can also
said
use a regular contract with 0 repair limits, and Chris says, guess what? They didn't ask for any repairs. But I love that too, because when you do a regular contract with 0 repairs, it gives the seller the right to make the repairs and force the buyer to stay in the contract. Right? There's an art behind this, and we're really crafting a deal here. All right, the last thing I wrote down for my contract stuff today, because these are the 3 biggest things that are going on right now, is multiple offers. So it's really about you creating a relationship, building rapport with your buyer so they trust you and take your advice. And your advice should be, hey, it's hard, guys. We just had a house sell here at $362 a square foot. There's nothing on the street that's closed anywhere over $300 a foot. And it just closed and it appraised. And then I actually just put one on the market at $370 a foot because that one kicked in. So, ready for this quote? The activities in a real estate market are dependent upon the activities of the real estate agents in that market.
that's true.
That's so true. When we bought Sun City in 1996, the Sun City agents did not use the MLS. And Andover condo was worth $25,000 because that's what Andover condos are worth. Never mind, you've owned it for 10 years and it's appreciated. No, it's an Andover condo. They sell for 25 grand. I mean, that's the activities in that market are dependent on the activities of the agents in the market. And the agents in that market were lazy back then.
That's a mindset of those agents. Absolutely.
Marge.
Yep. They're still like that.
Marge Connolly, what was her? They're all passed away now.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was, what was her name? Oh gosh. But that was, it had Marion Von Bargen. They had all the knowledge. And I sold that house 5 years ago for 25 grand. It's worth 25 grand. We
Yeah.
came to the market and we opened up the MLS, and that exposed the listings to all the MLS participants. And Sun City agents didn't want that. Not our agents. I'm talking in the marketplace. We don't want those Tampa agents coming down here selling our stuff.
That's right.
That was the mindset. And then you took our company now so we just closed one. We didn't close it. A house closed at 360 a foot. Aixa just found one that's nicer than that, and she's going on at 370 a foot. The activities of an agent in a market drive the activities in that market. So we're driving prices up.
Yep.
And there's lots of agents that just don't do that. So
yeah, they really don't understand that, especially in this type of market right now, which we saw in 2005, 2006, it's a real seller's market. Prices are going to go up, and you will be a catalyst to that if you're really paying attention to the market and really help these values increase when they should. And you can, the cash closings have a lot to do with it, because a lot of times they don't need an appraisal or want one. That's what we see here, because we deal a lot with cash here. And if the buyer wants the house, they'll pay for it. They don't care about the appraisal. And that's how we get our prices up. And but it's our knowledge. We have to know what's going on. We have to know what the new home builders are doing. I had somebody tell me this week that the new home builders were driving our prices down. That's just the opposite. They're driving them up. And they can, they do control their own market within their subdivisions while they're building. So it's good to have that knowledge, especially when you're dealing with the appraisers and meeting your appraisers to know what the new home sales are also doing if you're in a market area with new home builders.
Yep. It helps there, Sandy. Thank you. Okay, so basically these are the tools that a lot of the top agents we were with, what do I have, 30 or 40 agents with us there?
Oh, no, we had like almost 55, 60.
It was awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I just
we
talked
took over the restaurant, Craig.
Yeah, we did. Margarita.
Wednesday night.
Yeah, somebody overserved me that night. I went to bed early, put it that way. All right, so anyway, the top agents are using these clauses. You are now learning what the top agents learn to use. So this as is clause gives you power, and the escalation clause gives you power, because it really sucks. I mean, in a multiple offer, most people are pissed, right? Only one buyer is going to get it, and everybody else is angry. And when you're the listing agent and you get multiple offers, it puts a lot of pressure on you, right? Because we think real estate's easy. No, there's a lot of pressure. You feel like you want to do the thing. I remember Chris Reed had 2 listings a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
Each got 14 offers on them.
Yep.
And you're expected to understand the value of each one of those different offers and see which one is the best, and be able to communicate articulately with the seller and why one's better than the other. The percentage down, the closing period, the earnest money, all the other stuff. Mm-hmm. And so what Joe Diener put together was a checklist, like a spreadsheet, or maybe Chris did, I forget which one, but I sent it out to you. It was a Excel spreadsheet that put all the columns of what the pros and cons of each offer was on one sheet of paper, so the seller could say, hey, this one's got more money down, but this one closes faster. Which is more important to you, seller, a quick closing or more money down to make it more secure? All those little things happen.
Yeah, I knew it was you, Joe. So thank you, because that's what, part of our job is making sure that we're prepared before we sit in front of that seller with multiple listings. We know exactly what's going on with each offer. I mean, multiple contracts.
Yep. All right, so let's go to, it's not where I wanted to go. Listing Agreement 2020. This is a contract. And, the practice that we recommend, I got 2 Q&As up here too, hold on a second. Joe Diener says, I've used this on 9 out of 10 offers this year. And Joe also said you need to do a CMA prior to making an offer to make sure what your range is and for an offer price, and explain to the buyer the risk there will be. That's a guy who very well said. Yeah, you basically do a SPA, CMA, for the buyer and say, look, this is what's going on in the marketplace. If you want this house, this is likely, to win, we're going to have to play this game. And some buyers just don't like that. Okay. I'm not going to go through the basics, fill in the blank seller, whatever. For those newer to us, this is the FAR, exclusive right of sale listing agreement with single agency with consent to transition to transaction broker. So this is different than many listing agreements out there because we allow you to become a single agent. But if you're going to be a single agent, you have to have the ability to transition to a transaction broker, or else you can't show any of our listings. So
And that is
term,
built into our listing agreement.
markets change, and so do we change with the markets. If a seller's bitching about a 6-month listing agreement, take a 5-month. That's not the end of the world. We're probably going to sell it pretty quickly now.
Mhm.
But you, being a strong agent, should just get a 6-month listing, right? Because not every house does sell. The house that sells is the one that is priced right, and the seller's in charge of the price and the condition. So 6 months is our standard, and I will tell you that the deviation from standard is less than 1%.
Yeah.
So virtually all the time, we get our 6-month agreements. How do I know that? Because the listings department copies me when there's a deviation from the norm, and I don't get many of those. So for 100 to 200 listings a month, if I get 1 or 2, it's a lot. Street address, you can figure all that out. Terms and financing. The only thing important here is understanding this. This listing agreement says our commission is due at the time of sale, is earned at the time of sale. It's not collected until closing, but it's due at time of sale, right? And it also says, and that's what listing group says, bring me an offer that meets the terms of this agreement and you've earned your commission. So I want you to check all these boxes: cash, conventional, VA, FHA, other, if USDA is an option, right? Because if you don't have them checked and the seller, they bring you a VA offer, then you didn't earn your commission technically, right? But if that was checked, then the seller would have to pay us our commission because we earned it. Not that we're going to take them to the court or anything, but just the legal ease of that to meet the terms of the condition. So if you didn't check VA and we get a VA offer, if the seller signs it, we get paid no matter what. But the seller doesn't have to sign it because we didn't check that box. Not for force. It's just a technicality. So that's one place where we get questions on. Down here, you should know what this is. I've already pre-checked everything for you. I didn't, the staff did, right? Withhold verbal offers. That is put in there on purpose to give you negotiating power. Because very often you'll have a buyer call you, the listing agent. Hey, do you think they'll take, $275? I don't know. Under agency law, you have a duty to present all offers. Is a verbal offer an offer?
It's an offer.
It's an offer. And you have to present all offers.
Yeah.
So do you have to present a verbal offer? Yes.
Technically, we should. Yes.
That should, yes, you have to present all offers. Except in this case, the seller's checked a box that says withhold verbal offers. So you can legitimately say, I'm sorry, the seller has instructed me not to present any verbal offers. And why would we want to do that, Deb?
Because by the time it gets to paper, oftentimes people change their minds and it's not what they agreed on between the agents, and the agents aren't party to the contract.
And there's 600 lines in the contract.
Yes.
So which one is price? One of them. Doesn't make any sense. Okay, so these things up here, broker authority, broker, seller authorizes broker to market the property to the public. Public marketing includes, this is new. And remember, the clear cooperation policy, we talked about a little bit last week, but we haven't talked about it a lot before that. NAR came out with a clear cooperation policy that says you are not allowed to market a listing unless it's on the MLS.
Mhm.
So you can't put it on Facebook, you can't do any of that stuff, or you can be fined. And the first fine is $500, and it's going to you because we're not marketing your listing in that case. Public marketing also includes marketing property to real estate agents outside broker's office. So you can't even tell another agent about your new listing coming up unless it's in the MLS. They're authorized to put signs on the property. unless paragraph 6B1 is chosen, which the seller says do not authorize outside. So none of these we want checked. Actually, look, we marked it out so you can't check it. That's even better.
Yeah.
Seller understands and acknowledges that if seller checks options B, 6B1, broker will be limited to marketing the property only to agents within the broker's office. So we just don't want to deal with any of that. It's not in the seller's best interest. We want the liability removed from using a lockbox. So we get their permission to use one, and we pre-check that. Now, if the seller refused to do that, then you would have to come up here and edit it and take it and cross through, and then have initials built by it. Virtual office websites. Okay. One of the reasons there's 100 million leads coming through the internet is because there's 4 billion websites out there. So a broker in Ohio can get an IDX feed for Florida listings and start marketing our listings on his website, and then he gets the lead and refers it to us. So the question is, do we want to allow virtual office websites to market our listings? Well, I don't agree with that, because why do I care? If you're gonna get a buyer to buy my house, my listing, and it might go to another Florida. There's a lot of referred buyers that come through our new thing called Prime Street. They send us like 1 or 2 a day. And that's all they're doing. Veterans United Realty is a real estate company, and they market to veterans. And then when they get a veteran who wants to be in an area that they have brokers, that's us, they send us business. So that's really a virtual office website too. So they're just referrals that are coming in. So we accept them, unless the seller says, I do not want an automated estimate of market value on the listing. Seller does not authorize third parties to write comments and reviews. I kind of like both of those myself. So the websites are going to be out there because IDX puts them there. And then if I guess Zillow would fall in it. Seller does not authorize an automated estimate of market value of the listing or a hyperlink to such estimate to be displayed in immediate conjunction with the listing of this property. I don't think we can stop that. I wouldn't check these boxes. If I wanted those boxes,
Yeah, I wouldn't check the boxes. Yeah. Yeah,
where's-
because we sure don't want outside people writing comments about our listings if they're going to be derogatory.
Right. And then once they're up, guys, they're up, and you
Yeah.
ain't getting them down. Okay, commissions. Psychologically, people want to pay as little commission as possible. So this is a modification that we made to this document that is different from the FAR agreement. FAR just is a blank line, says the commission will be blank. I want you guys to explain that we charge 3%, and we recommend you cooperate at 3% to the other broker as well. So it kind of psychologically cleans up. They're not paying 6%. They're paying 3% to us and paying 3% to attract cooperating brokers. And then it goes through this part, which is what I wanted to get through to you. 50% of the consideration paid for an option. It drives me batshit crazy when sellers say, I'm not paying you 50% of an option.
They don't even know what an option is, Craig.
I know. But here's the deal. We have to present all offers. If a famous person came in and said, look, a notoriably wealthy guy comes in and says, you know what? I really like your house. I'm not positive we're moving here, but I'll give you $100,000 option to buy it in 6 months. I have to present that to you. And if I present that to you and you take it, I want to know how I'm getting paid. You have no obligation to take it, but I have an obligation to present it. So that's why that's there. Because if it were to, somebody made you an offer, an option offer, and you accepted it, I want to know how I get paid. And I get 50% of the option money, not to exceed my commission amount. So it's a $100,000 option, 50 grand. I don't get 50 grand. I get up to the amount of my commission, because that's money spent. So don't whimper away from that clause. There's nothing wrong with it. It just says, if I get an offer to present to you like that, I want to know how I get paid, and I have to present it. And then there's 10% of gross lease value. They cross that. I don't want to rent my house. Hey, if a Tampa Bay Rays player comes in and says, oh, I really want my mother to live close to me, I'll pay you $5,000 a month for your house. Would you consider renting it?
Sure.
Yeah. And I have to present that offer to you. And if I present that $5,000 monthly rent, I want to know how I get paid, and I get 10%. So 5,000 a month is 60,000 a year. I get $6,000 for doing this. So no, I'm not striking that out. If you don't like it, then if I present you a lease offer, don't take it, and you don't have to pay me anything. But if you take it, I get paid, and it's okay to say that. And then this retained deposits is where people get all hooked on. Understand, if the seller retains a deposit, he got enriched. And why did he get enriched? Who caused him to get enriched?
Buyer did.
We did.
Yeah.
We brought the buyer, we negotiated the offer, we got the big deposit for them. And if they retain it, we get half. And then the contract, which we're not on, this is the listing agreement, the contract says, if the listing broker collects any of the retained deposits, they have to share their half with the selling broker, right? So just know that happens. That's kind of the important part here. Know that that happens.
Yeah, and that really does need to be explained when you're sitting with your seller at the time you're listing it. A lot of this stuff, if you explain it up front as you're doing these listings with your sellers, very little will come afterwards to be for them to even discuss with you that they didn't know. And this is stuff that comes up often with us.
Yeah, this is the part where I don't want you to wimp out. Stand up for yourself. No, I have to, if I get a crazy option offer, I have to present it to you. And if I present you an option that's in your best interest to take, then take it. But no, you're going to pay me, and this is what you're going to pay me.
Yeah, and Carmen, you're right. She feels that she's told her sellers that, you know, we still have to pay out half of that of what we get to the cooperating brokerage.
Tony asked me to go over the math of an option. Here's the challenge. When you make an offer on a house to close at a point in the future, there's uncertainty, right? The market could go up, the market could go down. So some buyers, and this is not prevalent, especially in this market, but some buyers are uncertain, but they want to lock in a price. So a typical option in real estate would be $5,000 or $10,000 because you buy the option. You actually, it's currency. You pay for the option to hedge your bet. I'm going to give you $10,000. I have the option to buy your house for $350,000 in 6 months, right? So that's where I would use it for a 6 month or longer period. If at 6 months from now, the house is worth more, I'll probably exercise my option and close on it at $350. If the house is worth less than $350, I'll probably exercise my option not to pay, but I will have lost my $10,000.
Yep.
Right. So I paid for that option to secure myself, because I'd rather lose 10 grand than buy a house that went down 20 grand. And the seller gets paid for that. And if the seller gets paid for that, we get paid. I've even reiterated the half when we are having buyer. Yeah.
Yeah.
When buyer, if we do this, and oftentimes I will say, if our buyer is nice and kind and wants to continue working with us, we're not going to keep our half of their deposit. But if they're jerks and they're not going to buy from us again, we've earned it, right? So we have flexibility. Good.
Sandra Whittle has asked, when you have multiple offers on our listing, what time frame does the seller have to decide and reply to the buyer?
Great question.
Yeah.
And it depends on what the time for acceptance is.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's important for you as the buyer's agent to, if you write a really good offer and ask for a quick response, the seller has pressure to get to you first. So in that spreadsheet that we were talking about, Joe Diener has, it says time for acceptance. So if you give me 3 days to accept your offer and somebody else gives me 8 hours, and the 8 hour one is really good, I feel the pressure to answer that one quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've also seen agents come back and say, look, I've got multiple offers. I need a longer time for acceptance, or your offer is just going to vaporize. And we don't want that to happen either. Right? So that's kind of the rubber meets the road. Anything else you want to talk about in the listing agreement? Because I got one more thing, Deb.
Well, Commission challenge, when y'all are sitting in front of the seller going over the listing agreement, breaking it down that Craig just did a minute ago for y'all really kind of overcomes those challenges when it comes to how much are we paying you on commission with our sellers, because they really don't understand totally. They really do think you're getting the whole 6% to you and it's not split out to other parties. And when you take the time to explain that, the sellers go, oh, okay. Because they're hearing and they're getting challenges right now with a lot of agents and stuff are coming in at 4%, 5% less, but what's it? Why are they really coming in with that? And it's time to sit down, take a step back and explain everything on this listing agreement of what we do and what we can do for them. Because I can guarantee you the agents that are coming in with a lot less commissions are not taking time to explain the listing agreement. They're not doing anything except throwing a number out there. And we can overcome this by being a lot more educated and taking the time to educate our sellers to the full listing agreement and what we do for them. I think that's so incredibly important right now because commission is just a opportunity to explain our services and stuff. And we need to take that time to do that because we do offer wonderful services for our sellers. We do attract more buyers.
Whenever somebody asks me what we charge, I said we charge 3%.
Yep.
Recommend we pay 3% to the operating broker. And that makes me go, huh?
Yeah.
You don't charge 6? No, we charge 3. But 98% of the time there's a cooperating broker on the sale.
Absolutely.
So they get, and we're going to use that 3 to attract them. It's an attraction tool. Cool.
So we've had challenges in the last couple weeks here that I've had 3 sellers come to me wanting to get out of their listing agreement in the first 2 months because we haven't sold their house. Oh my God, you know, and chances are, and most times it's either been overpriced or needs work. And that's up to the listing agents to really help them understand where they're at with their listing and the pricing. And they've got to be the prettiest house on the block, really, to be able to get the multiple offers in and everything else, because there's stuff sitting out there right now that need work, that are dirty, and that are overpriced. And we're still seeing a lot of overpriced listings coming on because people are testing the market right now. So you've got to be on top of your game to really help your sellers understand where they need to be priced up front to get their house sold quickly and get the multiple offers in. Otherwise, they're sitting on the market, and in all 3 cases, one was I went over and looked at it. It was filthy, and it was the furniture had been moved out from where the pictures were. The pictures had beautiful furniture in it. It looked staged, wonderful. I walk in, the floors are concrete. They're painted concrete, and they look terrible. And the house was filthy. And I had to have that gentle discussion with the sellers about let's step back and take time to figure out what you need to do to this house to get it back on the market ready to sell, since you've moved your furniture out. And they needed a paint because they took all the pictures off the wall. They needed a clean and deep clean because you walk in and it looked dirty. So having those difficult conversations, you do need to prepare yourself for that, but inoculate your sellers up front what they're going to need to expect to get their house sold.
Guys, the term we used back in the day was if the seller wants to test the market, I'm all for it. Remember we said the activities of a market is dependent on the activities of the agent. It's okay to push it up. And the term we use is let's run it up the flagpole and see who salutes. And if nobody salutes, then you went too high.
Yeah.
So the problem is we let that house sit on the market for 2 months and didn't ask for price reductions.
That's right.
Which probably means we didn't have a strong enough conversation. I mean, literally, they get the words. But let's run it up the flagpole and see who salutes for the week. And if nobody salutes in week 1, then we need to adjust back down.
That's right.
So there's nothing wrong with hitting the market at 325 just to see if you can get it.
Yeah.
But if the week goes by and you're not getting blown up, then hit the 315.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
A lot of times we get the sellers to agree in writing in the listing agreement. Seller in advance agrees to lower the price to 315 if we don't have an offer by October 24th. And again to 300,000 if we don't have an offer by November 10th.
You know, we used to have a form for that, Craig. We should bring that form back out. We used to have a form.
Well, the blank lines of listing agreement.
Yeah. Because that, if your seller is that pushy, yeah, try it. But if it's not getting any activity, all three of these weren't getting any activity because they ran up the flagpole and did not get the price decreases when they should have.
Exactly. And that's
Because lots of pending activity right now in the market, they miss their chances of even attracting that buyer that went next door and bought the house next door. That may have been prettier or less money at the time.
And dropping the price is about as effective as making it prettier. Right? Because you can make it really pretty by lowering the price.
That's right. That's absolutely true. All houses sell, and we don't give any houses away.
Yeah, Regina says it was so eye-opening for sellers to view the inside photos of their neighbors' homes. Guys, that's probably your job.
Yeah.
Go shopping with them. Put them online with you.
Yeah.
And say, look at this one. This is what you're asking this much. They're asking this much. Look at the inside of their house.
Yeah. I had that discussion with Regina last week before they went on the market because I saw the pictures before and I said, "Ooh, you got a lot of clutter in here." And it looks, the bones underneath had granite and some really beautiful stuff, but there was so much clutter and stuff they didn't want to take care of. So I asked her to sit down with her seller while she was in the office. She brought them into the office on the big screen. I said, go through all their neighborhood competition. That's their next door neighbor that's across the street and down the street, and show them the inside of the house they're in competition with. And it was eye-opening for them. And it's like, oh, I have to go back and clean. I have to go back and do this. And they did, thank goodness. And they really followed Regina's advice. But you have to take the time to do this, not just accept the fact that you're going to list this house dirty or overpriced. Sit down with your sellers and show them the competition, because that is reality today. And if they're not the prettiest, they're not going to get picked first on the market or the best price.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't have to be pretty if you're the best price.
Hey, I'm just going to share this with you guys. I'm super impressed. I'm looking at that text. It's got another text. Your driver's 5 minutes away. And then there's a link to the map. And it says where he is. Estimated distance 1.3 miles. Estimated arrival time is 5 minutes. And here's the office phone number if you have any questions. What a cool service.
Domino's does that for us.
That's right. It's like a Domino service. You can see.
Yeah, it is. They even tell you when it goes in the oven and when the driver picks it up.
Cool. Well, other than that, I was going to share. Jonathan is doing some filming with me now, and they're putting this content out, and it was pretty good, but I don't think we're going to have time to play it right now. So I've got it up and queued, but I'll just send it out by email or something. So I think we'll take the time now, Deb. We'll end a couple minutes early. Let me get my leak fixed.
Okay.
And here's an example just for you, just for education. My garage is underneath my house. My pipe is exposed, and there's drips on my garage floor right under my shower drain. And now I put a bucket under it, and the bucket, literally a 5-gallon bucket, was this full after like 3 weeks. So there's a lot of water getting through there. And so I, handy Greg, I got an LED light and I put it on the drain. I went under the house and I looked up to see if I could see light coming out. I can't see where light's coming out. I've tried for a long time and I can't stop it. I don't know what to do. So I'm going to call America, because it could be going under the shower pan. It could be coming from the faucet. It could be coming from the shower head. And I really don't want to rip up my whole friggin' bathroom floor. So American leak detectors I've used for a long time, usually for pool problems, but they're for $350. They come out and they will find the leak. And then you got to hire a plumber to fix it or whatever the fix is. If it's like a pool thing, they'll put caulk in it or whatever they do. But it's just a pretty good service. And I just wanted to share that with you if you need any leaks detected. All right, so guys, you got 45 days to get as many closings as you can to get up to master's level for high ball and trip coming up next year.
Yes, it is. And I think it's even going to be over the top next year for in Hawaii, even a lot more than they were planning on.
It's going to be our 50th anniversary too.
Yes.
50th anniversary. So that's a big one, 2021.
Absolutely worth going to.
Cool. All right, everybody. Happy Friday. We're here for you if you need anything. Thank you.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.